Yeah, so welcome to today's class. And in today's class, we'll be building a blog post. Like, a blog post is where you can read, what's the name? Where you can read blog about news, but we are not using a real API. We are using a dummy API. And we'll be getting all our details from this API, which is JSON placeholder, which is this JSON placeholder. And for this JSON placeholder, you can either use, is either what's the name? There is either a post, there is either a what's the name? But the one we'll be working with is actually a post, which is this post. And out of this post, there are 100 details which will be rendered on the screen, which we'll actually be making use of. So the first thing we have to do is, right before the class, I have created a dummy HTML page, which which has just a bootstrap design, which is what we have on the screen right now. This is what we have. Please, I don't want it, if you have any questions, I don't want it to just be like, I am just talking. Please always to try to ask questions if you don't understand. This is just simply what we have on our dummy design. So nothing is working. Every other thing just looks static as we have it on our Figma design. But as we go on, we would actually, Josephine, please, you're writing on my screen. And as we go on, we would actually fetch data from our API and also render it on the screen, which is the focal point of this. And once we have rendered it on the screen, we'll want to view each post. You can see, if we check this placeholder now, you can see there's a title and the body of the text is in another place. So what we are simply going to do is, once you click on a particular post, it goes to this place. It goes to this place and you read the details of the blog post and you can go back to the blog page. That is what we have. That's what we'll be building in this class. So please follow me. Any questions? Do we understand what we are building in today's class? Hello guys, do we have any question or do you understand what we are building in today's class?
Please, sir, can you just go over it again? Please,
okay.
What we'll be building.
Okay, I said that. Yeah, I'm going to zoom in my screen. I said that we'll be building a blog post in today's class, which is, and how are we getting our blog post? How are we getting our blog post? We are getting it, all the posts we'll be rendering on the screen, we are getting it from an API, which is this JSON placeholder. All these posts, it is what we are going to be what you are going to be rendering on our screen for the users to see. Do we understand? Do we understand that? So
Yes.
when
Safi, sorry. This data that you just got now, is that JSON placeholder site that you picked it from? It's a link,
yes,
right?
yes, it's a link. Same way as the link I gave you for your e-commerce website.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand.
So now once all the link are, once you can check this blog post now, all these posts, you can see that they are 100 in number and everything will be rendered on the screen. So once a user sees the 100, a user cannot start reading everything at once. He will just have one that catches his attention. And when one catches his attention, what does he have to do? He just have to click on it. And once he click on that, what does he have to do? He has to just, once he click on that one, it goes to this page. It goes to this page, post.html, and the user is able to read the post. And once he's done reading the post, he can go back to the blog page to see every other post that is there. Do we understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Let's get right into today's class. So we have this, and that is all what we have currently. And the next thing we have to do now is we have to move into, you can see also for the post, we have this. So the next thing we have to do is, I have not created my HTML file. So the next thing we have to create a script.html, a script.js. So, and also I'll be asking you guys at some point to help me out with what we are going to do. Script.js. So, and the next one we have is we would have a post.js also. We would have a post.js. So, oh no, not here. So we would be having these two posts, and the first thing we have to work on is we have to work on rendering the data on the screen. So guys, do we understand what we are doing here? So the next thing we are going to do first of all is selecting audio elements we want on our screen. For the first thing we are going to be selecting is this post title .id. Where is it? We'll be having this class name of post ID, which is what we are going to be working with. So let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is we have to first select all the items, because we'll be creating also, and we'll be also doing what? We'll also be getting. So let's first select all our items. Josephine, please, why are you writing on my screen? Post title. I'm going to be using the same tag that is written in the HTML right here. This is where I'm selecting from. You can see we have an ID right here of, what's the name? Post title. So please, if you are confused at any point, please always drop a message in the chat box, and I would always respond. Document.get.
Sorry, boss. You have to increase your screen size, the font size.
Okay, my screen. Sorry, please.
I think that's struggling.
Is my font size okay now? Is my font size okay
yes,
now?
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's fine now.
Michael, about the tax. At the end of the class, I'll also address issues about the tax. Don't worry. Just relax. So the first thing we are doing, I know everybody are familiar with this. You get an element by ID, which is also a DOM selection. So what are we doing? We are selecting the posts. It should be in small letter. Post dash title. So let me duplicate my screen so that we can actually see what I'm selecting from the HTML. So this is what I'm actually selecting from the HTML, this post title. The other thing I'm actually going to be selecting now is let post body. You can see post body because it is actually getting it from my. So the next thing I have to do is the post form. Post form. You can see I have this ID right here of post form, which is going to serve as the button, which I'm going to be clicking. So let's do this. We have a sorry, is my voice clear enough? Please, is my voice clear enough?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
Your voice is clear.
All right, thank you. Post form. Who can tell me the kind of case I'm using to type this? Who can tell me the kind of case I'm using to type this?
Comment case.
All right. Okay, is that fine? Yeah, so, and here I'm going to just select, I'm going to empty array. I'm going to create an array right here. I'm giving it an empty object, which is going to be rendered on the screen eventually. Michael, you have a question, you have this raised.
Sir, please, can you use Alt-Z for we to see the full code?
Alt-Z, I have to, I think I'm done with the HTML now. I'm done with the HTML for now, so I'll just go to the HTML, to the JavaScript itself. So can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the first thing we have to do is, we'll notice something on our screen. Once you click on this button, it reloads the page, right?
Yes.
So for that, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to stop that?
Going to prevent it from refreshing inside the function we're about to make.
All right, so let's not do that yet, because by the time should we start the create first, or we should first let's first get the details we want and render it on the screen before we start creating our own blog post? So let's do a function get post. So what is the next thing I'm going to do? That's what is the I want to fetch an API. What is the first thing I'm going to write?
Fetch.
What is the first thing I'm going to write? Fetch.
You write fetch.
Fetch, and you can put it in a variable.
Okay, so let me copy the link which I'm going to be using, which is this. So Control C, and let's put it inside our code. So this is what we are working with, and the next thing we have to do is a dot then. We have our response equals response.json, which is this. And after that, we have another dot then, what is this second dot then holding? This second dot then is actually holding the data. Yeah, thank you. So we have the data, and okay, we have the data, which is this, and we have this. Let's do console.log data to see what we have. So let's go to our browser and check it out. So what's going on here? Okay, why is our blog post not showing in our console? I noticed what I did there. Why is our blog post not showing in our console? Why is it not showing? Who can tell me why it's not showing? Who can show me why our blog post is not showing?
You haven't linked it. You haven't linked the JavaScript on your HTML.
I've actually linked the JavaScript on my HTML, which is this. Look at it on the last line, on line 80. I've actually done that here. The reason is because I haven't called this function. I only declared the function right here. I haven't called it. So I have to do a get post, and I call it right here. So,
sir, I have a question.
Yeah,
you know that from the console, I could read the error message and know where the problem is from. But I noticed that this error message that was popped up here, I don't even understand it.
Yeah, this is just a window error. It's not an error from our code.
Okay.
This is just an error from our code. Yeah, this error is just there. It doesn't come. It's not from our code actually.
Okay.
So
okay.
You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. So you can see now that when I called this function right here, what did it do? It rendered audio 100. It rendered audio 100 blog posts we have right here. Can you see? Can we see that?
Yes.
Yes,
so you can see that. Did anyone see anything?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So should I continue building it so that we can just be following? So the next thing we have to do now is we have to now assign it to this new data. So this is what we have right here. We have new array equals data. So now we are assigning the blog posts. We are assigning the data from here into this new array at this point. So if we console.log new array, you would see, let's console.log new array on line 5 here. Console.log new array. Let's see what we have. You would see that on line 6, when we console.log it, what is it doing? It's an empty array. Even on line 18, it's also an empty array. But why is it not assigning here? Why is it not assigning? Let's do console.log new array. So that's like on line 14. We can see on line 14, we have our code right here. Can you see that? Can we see that?
Yes,
sir.
but I have a question. You know that this data that we have, is it an array of objects? Like the way we have in... Hello, can you hear me?
It's an array of objects. It's an array of objects. You can see that. Wait, let me close this up. You can see. Can you see my console properly?
Yes, I'm seeing your console.
What is the symbol? What is the symbol for this thing? What is the symbol for an array? What is the symbol for an array?
The square bracket is the symbol. Square bracket.
If we check after this 100, you can see a square bracket here, right?
Okay.
Can you see the square bracket? You can also see the square bracket at the end. That is coming in an array, actually. It is coming in an object array of objects. That is what your distance is coming from.
Okay.
That is what that's what is coming from the backend, from the endpoint. That is how the details are going to come. Any details you want, that is how it's going to come. So hope you understand that.
And then when you logged inside, I think when you logged inside, it showed. But when you came out, it did not show again. What was the problem?
Yeah, because the data is not available outside. The data is yet to be available outside. Yeah, the data is yet to be available outside. So let's continue. So the next thing we have to do now is we have to do what? We have to render the post on the screen, right? That's the next thing we have to do. We have to render the post on the screen, which is our next line of action. So let's do something. Let's do this. Const. Let's do a function. I'm not doing a const. I'm not writing an arrow function. A const add post. Add post equals this. Sorry, there's a message in the chat box. Oh, I should remove the console.log at the top. All right. So it's actually a good practice that you remove all your console.log when you are done. So I'm removing that already. All right. Thank you, Paul. So are you following? So the next thing we have to do is we have to do a let. Sorry, someone's mic is unmuted. Who is that? Do you have a question? All right, there's no question. So let's continue. Let's post layout equals document dot get element by ID. So this is not the name actually, but let's go to our HTML and search for the name post layout. We have something called post layout, and this is our post layout. This is our post layout. What we are going to render on the screen actually. That is what we are going to render on the screen. So let's copy it and assign the right name to it. So we do this and we paste it right here. So the next thing we have to do is we have to do a let HTML equals an empty array, which is something we always do. And the next thing we have to do is we have a new, that means now we are now assigning that. Who was that, please? Who was that?
Me.
All right, please. Please. So the next thing we have to do now is we now have to assign it to our HTML. So we now have to do a new array a new array dot for each. So what do we have here? We have an event which is e. You know the event we have here is just the e we have here. Let me call it an e. Is just what? It's just a variable name, nothing more. Are we clear? Are we clear with
Yes,
that?
I'm clear on that. Yes.
All right. So.
But I have a
May-
question.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, okay, this function about add post is you want to actually render the
Yes.
the
Want to
stuff on
render?
the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, the fetch that get post. Yeah, you know that what you are using now, you are using Bootstrap templates to
Yes.
actually teach us. But we will be using maybe, okay, let me say, for example, the first div that will carry some of the stuff might be like product details, then the product itself. So I was just trying to say that wouldn't it have been very easy for you to have just, I'm not saying you
If
are not doing
you can wait, if you can remember in the last class, which was the last class we did on APIs, I used dummy CSS. I used vanilla CSS. I used vanilla CSS. Can you remember? I
yeah,
had my CSS already written. So it's still the same way. Me using Bootstrap for my styling, me using vanilla CSS for my styling is actually the same thing. I just wanted to use vanilla Bootstrap because I said Bootstrap is optional. I made mention of it that Bootstrap is actually optional. So
Okay, sir, I think what he's asking is I have a question. I think what he's asking is go to your code where you use Bootstrap, because it also gave me a problem one time when I was working where you use Bootstrap. Now you don't maybe the div you want to just a line that has Bootstrap. Okay, now this nav class. It has nav bar, expired, large. So I think what he's asking is, if I want to access this nav class, what will I
just
do?
give it your own? You just give it your own class name and make sure it's not
That's what.
conflicting with Bootstrap. I made mention of this
Okay.
Bootstrap class that you can actually overwrite Bootstrap style if your class name is not conflicting with Bootstrap. That's what I made mention of. I actually made mention of that. So now at this point, if I want to assign something to this place, I can just do navigation dash bar. This navigation dash bar is never a bootstrap class name. So what do? I can always call it in my JavaScript here, which is this. I'll just do let navigation bar equals document dot get element by class name, which is this. And what do I have to do? I copy this here. Copy this here and I paste it. So that's it. Do you understand now?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Oh, do you understand? Paul, you asked that question. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Are you sure? Your response does not sound like you understand.
I will understand by force, don't worry, sir.
No, are you sure you understand?
Actually, I don't, it's not like I can't really stress the point about me understanding, because I can be derailing you back or dragging you back. But I will just follow up.
All right. Okay. What should I take again? Bolatife, you said I should take something again. What should I take again? But what if you said I should take something again? The one I just did. Okay. I said, if you can remember, in the last Bootstrap class we did, I made mention that you can actually overwrite Bootstrap style by doing what? By simply adding your own class name. After you add your own class name, what do? Just make sure that the class name you are adding is not conflicting with Bootstrap class name. With the way I have navigation dash bar, if you check through Bootstrap documentation, there is no class name that is called Bootstrap navigation bar. There is no class name that is called navigation bar. So that is why I can simply make use of it, of saying that, okay, navigation bar is the class name I want. And I come to my JavaScript here, and I assign, and I call it right here, get document, get element by class name, and I call the class name, and any style I want to add, I can definitely add it right here, and it's not going to affect Bootstrap styling. It's just going to overwrite it. Do you understand, Boluwatife? Boluwatife, do you understand? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
I
sir.
hear you, sir.
Understand,
All
though.
right. All
But
right.
I
So,
think maybe Paul is looking at maybe calling it in a CSS format and styling it. Maybe it's giving me.
okay, let me. I don't have any CSS file, but please just remind me before the end of the class. I'm definitely going to do it. Okay, let me just create a CSS file here. No, not here. Let me create a CSS file, which is so. Who can tell me how you link your style sheets in CSS to your HTML? Oh yeah, someone should tell me.
Post type link and click enter.
Link
Well, style sheets.
rel style sheet.
Style sheet. Okay.
Style.css.
href equals style.css.
All right, so that is it. So that is simply what we have. So let me now go right here and change what is okay navigation. So let me give it a background color of orange red. And what do I have to do? Let me put the exclamation important in front of it. So let's check what we have. Can you see? Can you see?
Yes, sir. You can see it.
Yes, sir.
So Paul, are you clear now?
Yes, sir, I'm clear. My question wasn't even about Bootstrap because me, I know sure I'll go use that Bootstrap. Me no go boot me come out for bootcamp, I beg. So yeah, just do. I'll use vanilla HTML and stuff.
If you use vanilla, there's no problem. There's no problem. It's still the same way. Just call. You can see I'm not even assigning any. I'm not. Where's my code? Let me go back to my code. Right here, I'm not in my JavaScript. I'm not actually using any styling for my Bootstrap. Actually, I'm not changing the style of Bootstrap here. So the reason I want you guys to actually use vanilla Bootstrap is because of responsiveness. Because if your code is not responsive, you're not going anywhere. That is it. You can actually see this blog post you're actually building is in Bootstrap. I built the template, the layout in Bootstrap, and you can see at every point when I go to a smaller screen, it automatically fits. It automatically fits. So you don't have to. That's just it. So please, that's why I made mention of it that it must be responsive. So please, but if you want to use your vanilla CSS, I'm not saying you should not use it, but please just make it responsive. Thank you. Yeah, so let's continue. So I want to close this my console. So are we all on the same page now?
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir.
Are we all on the same page? All right, so let's continue. So we have a for each right here, which we are going to use to render our details on the screen. So what is the next thing we have to do? We now have to do our HTML. We now have to assign our HTML. I'm going plus equals, and we have our backtick. Who can tell me why I'm having a backtick? Who can tell me why I have a backtick?
It's a string now.
All right, so it's not because it's a string. So what am I adding? So this is what I want to
Then
add.
you can add some iteration or JavaScript syntax instead.
Okay, so this is actually what I want to copy right from here. I want to copy this and paste it in our CSS, in our JavaScript. Control C, and we paste it right here. So, excuse me. Yeah, so we have this. I'm actually doing this so that you can easily read my code. So what is the first thing that we have to do? We have a card body, but we have a what's the name? Excuse me, please. Yeah. We have a div of column 4. That means when it's on a large screen, give me a column 4. And I'm also going to add, so we have a card. A card class is from Bootstrap. A card body is from Bootstrap. So what you just need to do is just copy this. Once you copy it from Bootstrap, it's actually going to give you what you want. So what's the next thing I want to do is I want to add the title. I want to add the title, which is this. I'm going to add what this is this. I'm going to add this, and I'm going to do e dot. When we console.log this, let's console.log data. Let's be sure that we are getting the right data. When we do console.log data, let's remove this. Let's remove this so that we don't have any error in our code. Once we did console.log data, we can see that we have an array of objects. And what do we want to render? We want to render the title. We want to render the title and the body on the screen. And also another thing that's what we want to render. So let's put this on the screen right here. So we have this. We have e.title. We have e.title. And right here on the post body, we also have e.post. e.body. That is what we have. Am I sure? Yeah, so the next thing we have is e.body. So we are targeting the body, which is going to be rendered on the screen. So what do we have to do next? We just have to do this. Post layout dot inner HTML equals HTML. So let's check it out. Why are we not getting it on the screen? Why are we not getting it on the screen? Oh, who can tell me why we are not getting it on the screen again? I think I'm always making that mistake.
Maybe you did not call the function like the way you did. You didn't call it.
Yeah, I didn't call the function actually. So I didn't call the function. That is why. So we have to go back here. We have to go back here and call the function, which is add post. I'll call the function right here. So let's check it out. So this is what we have right now. Can you see? We have all our blog posts right on the screen. We have 100 blog posts on the screen already. Do you understand what we did? Is there any confusion?
Yes, sir.
What's the
Okay.
confusion?
Okay, sir.
Sir, please
Okay.
go back to your code.
Okay, so this is my code.
Okay, sir, that I'm confused from that. Let's HTML continue that empty string.
Yeah, from this line 21, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what if you have noticed from the previous classes that we have had, you will see that we always define an empty string because we want to insert an HTML object. So that is the same thing I just did here. I just defined an empty HTML string right here on line 21. And what did I do? I assigned it here with the template of what you want to render on the screen right here. I assigned it to a template of what you want to render on the screen right here. And when I did that, I just did, it's a let. And what does a let do? A let allows you switch to reassign a variable, to reassign value to a variable over and over again. So that is what we just did right here. On line 21, we assigned it an empty string, and on line 24, we assigned it a new value. And on line 36, we selected this post layout. This post layout is from here, is what we have in our HTML on line 64, which is actually the div that is holding this, each one of these boxes. Is actually the div holding each one of these boxes. Everything you can see right here is that div is that blog post that is holding everything up. So once we selected that, we added the HTML and we did .inner HTML and we assigned the HTML to it, and that is what rendered on the screen. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah,
so I have a question.
You know the drill. Please kindly raise up your hand. We can't turn this into a rowdy class. Yeah, Paul, your hand was raised. Go ahead.
Okay. What I actually observe is that I think this thing is becoming clearer now, as you are doing it like this. So what I'm trying to get, or let me just link it to maybe like our task. I'm not asking the question direct to task, but I'm just saying that, okay, in the task, I want to get a category of maybe a particular stuff I want to get. So this, our HTML plus equals the string, I'll actually target the div that carries that particular item on my HTML, right? And also this post layout of inner HTML equals to HTML. It means that you are calling the data that is inside the HTML, right?
Yes.
So it means that if I want to get a particular, let me see, item on my screen or item on my website, which is like maybe a product. So the product div is what I'll actually call it on this.
Okay, now let me just explain this to you. So now, if you want to simulate it in form of the assignment I gave you, this div on line 64 is going to be called your product div. It's just going to be the product div because that is the div that is going to hold all your products. Do you understand?
Yes.
So once this product div holds everything, every other content inside, all this content inside now is not needed any longer. All this content inside, if you go to, you can see, it's not needed at all. The previous content we had on our screen is not needed. Only what you need is that your div that is holding the product details. And when you come to your JavaScript here, you can see that I am selecting that div, which is document.getElement by ID. let me change the name right here. Let me change the name right here to product div so that you can understand. Products. So if we go to our JavaScript, you can see we have nothing on the screen again. So let's go to our HTML. Let's go to our JavaScript and change this to products. Let's change this to products. So once we change it to products, we have our results back. Can you see?
Okay, sir. The essence is that the essence of that what do I want to ask? The essence of this HTML structure is to guide you on what you are doing. So
Yes,
after you are done,
it's to guide you of how to render it on your screen. Actually, that is it. You can see that what we actually want to render on this place, we have our dummy HTML content here already. This is our dummy HTML content, which is what we have. But since it's dynamically generated, it is coming from a backend. It is coming from a database. It's coming from an API. We don't need this any longer. We have gotten the structure of what we want, which is just a single one. If we actually want to do this blog post in HTML, like I made mention of, we would actually have 100 divs of this because this is an 100. This API contains 100 posts. But we don't want that. We just want a single element, and we use a for each to map through it. We used a for each for everything, and it got what we wanted. Can you see? Do you understand it now, Paul?
Yes, I understand now.
Very good. I'm glad you understand now. Yeah, ID, you have a question.
I would have loved to see the top of your code. Like you can see the beginning of the code, like line 1. I'm a bit confused. I don't know. Yeah, just
this is the line 1 of my code. Let me remove this. This is the line 1 of my code. I just did a normal document selection here, which is what I just did. It's just a normal document. And the next thing I did was, let me write a comment here. Fetching excuse me, fetching blog post. So yeah, on line 17, rendering blog posts. Rendering blog posts. So do you understand now?
No, but from what I've seen, I think from what I've noticed here, your line 1 to line 3, you haven't made use of those codes yet.
Yes, I have not made use of the code from line 1 because at that point you are going to add more details. This is simply because we are going to add our own blog posts. Actually.
Okay. Then fine. Can you help? That's fine. I think I'm clear on that. Now, can we go back to your index.html? There's just one more question I would like to ask, and that'll be all.
Okay.
That's fine. Now, I also noticed that when you first rendered the HTML, your line 60 down, it didn't appear. I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed it.
It actually appeared on the screen. So wait, let me do something. Let me comment this out. This is what we have.
All right. Okay, thank you. I think you've answered my question. Thank you.
Boluwatife, if you have been following the class properly, you would see that the E I used there is just a variable name. It's not compulsory you use an E. It's just a variable name. I can change it. I've been making mention of this. I can change this. Boluwatife, give me a name I should change it to. And I'll also change it. Just Boluwatife, just drop a name in the chat box that I should change it to.
Just use the name. This Boluwatife.
Yeah?
This Boluwatife.
All right. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to Tife now. I'm going to change it to Tife. Let me change it to Tife. So this is you have to change this to product back. Yeah. So Bolo Atife, do you understand now? Bolo Atife, do you understand now? All right, that is good. So can we proceed? Can we proceed now?
Sir, I'm actually raising my hand.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Who was that? Okay, Ryan, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Yeah, actually, it's a bit clear, but I only need clarification on this the title online 29 and 30. So the title and the body is actually coming from the API. We've not actually referenced.
Yes, they are coming from the API.
Yeah, okay. So we've not
We are
actually
just using it instead of title to reference it actually.
Okay, okay. So because we know we declare the body title. Okay.
Let me show you again. Let me make that clear. Console.log data. Once I do console.log data, I do this. Let's check it. You can see we have 100 posts. And from the 100 posts, each one of the posts has what? It has a body, it has a title, it has an ID, and it has a user ID. Can you see?
Yes, I can see.
So now, what we want to actually render is the body and the title, which is this. This is the title. This is the title up here, and this is the body. That is what we actually want to render. And that is what we are making reference to right here, or from this this tife.title, tife.body. You understand?
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, Josephine, please go ahead. Your hand is raised.
Okay. What I want is just help me walk through your flow of thoughts. Like I'm thinking I'm doing this myself. Hey, this chat is disturbing me. Okay. Now I noticed that when we are in the go up where we have the first function.
Okay.
When we reassigned new array to data, at first we tried logging new array outside. It did not show. I would not get the data. Line 12.
It was actually empty. Yeah, it was actually empty.
Line 12. So, but I now notice now that when we now use new array in this line 25, we are able to access it. In scope, I'm trying to think. I know that data can only be accessed from line 8 to line 17.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, but now we use new array in line 25 and we're able to access it I'm trying to understand it. That's what I'm trying to understand. But I don't know if you get my question.
I get your question. When we called new array on line 5, it's an empty array actually. Yes. You understand that?
Yes. Yes.
So now, by the time we do a console.log here, we do what? New array.
It's an empty.
If we check our console, you would see it's an empty array on line 6.
Yes. Yes.
Which is simply because the data we assigned here. So we now come right here. Let's do a console.log new array. Let's let's differentiate it. This is results. So let's check it out. On line 14, you can see by the time we console.logged new array where we assign the value inside this scope where the data is available, you can see that
yes,
we can see array. But when we now come right here,
yes,
let's do this is array 2. You can see this is array 2 is actually empty. Do you know why? Do you know why it's empty?
Okay.
The reason why it's empty is because this our fetch function is actually asynchronous. This our fetch function is actually happening behind the scene. So by the time our application loads, the first thing that happens is that this line 6 actually loads, this line 22 actually loads. And at that point, the data from this fetch is yet to be available. So by the time the data is already available, you are not assigning it yet. By the time you do this console.log here on line 22, they are not getting the value, because if you check the order of sequence, you can see line 6 ran, line 22 ran afterwards, and line 14, which is actually in between line 16 and line 22, actually happened afterwards. Can you see?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
If it was in React, we would actually use something called use effects. That means to update the state. Okay, once it happens, once the data has arrived, there is something that will happen in the background to do what? To update it. So by the time you update that state, why am I going into React at this point? But let me just give you an example. But with HTML, there's no how the data is going to be available here. On line 22, there's no how the data is going to be available. So that is why at this point, on line 14, we did what? On line 13, we assigned data to it. And by the time we did console.log, that means what we actually did here is simply that this data, because we call this blog post inside here, it is available for it.
Okay.
I don't know if
you're
this data is actually available in this blog post. You can actually see that we called this blog post, we made this data available right here. So by the time this data was already available at this point, and we called this function, you can see here we can now assign new array. You can see because we have assigned new array right here, and the function in which we need it, we actually needed it in this place. When it's just simple. Now, let's console.log new array here. New array. So we can see that once we console.log new array here, let's check it out. Let's go back to our console. You can see that which line is that? On line 30. Let's console.log add post. Let's put something right here. Post. So let's save it and see. You would see that when the first two lines actually ran, the data was empty. Okay. Are you following? And by the time on line 14, when the data is available, yes, that means we have assigned the data to it. And you can see that this blog post is actually running after this get post has finished running actually. Because if you notice, the first function we are calling is this our get post, and this get post has to run before this add post is going to run. So once this get post has run and the data is available, right here at this den, and we have assigned it right here. We have assigned the data right here. You can see that this new data is now available and blog posts have actually run. So by the time blog post has actually run, you can see that the data is now available on line 26. On line 28, the data is now available. The data is now available. You can see that line 6 ran, line 20 ran, line 28 ran. But in between, before this line 28 is going to run, this line 13, let's console.log this. What name should I give to it? Josephine, give me a name, please.
Let's say before. Let's say before.
Okay,
before.
So by the time we do, we have new array, and we save it. And let's put this one after.
Okay.
After. So you can see that when the code is initially running, line 6 ran, first of all.
Yes.
Nothing happened. Line 21 ran, nothing happened. Line 24, line 14 actually ran, simply because it's an asynchronous function. All these blog posts, all these first console.log that we have ran before has already completed their action. That's when I told you that JavaScript read your code synchronously, line by line. This post here is actually working behind the scene when your JavaScript when your application is running. So JavaScript is not bothered. It has run all the whole line of code. But if we didn't put this in an asynchronous function, if JavaScript is reading it one after the other, by the time it gets to this line 9 and there's an error, what does it do? It terminates instantly. That means you get an error in the console. But because it's an asynchronous function, what happens? JavaScript actually just keeps this line 9, everything on this line 9, it skips it totally and jump to line 21. And by the time the data on line 21, and by the time the data on line 9, which is this console.log 14, by the time it's available, that is why it's console.log after line 21. You can now see index.js 14. Are you following, Josephine?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right. So
I'm with you.
By the time that has happened, you can now see that after then, we are now calling this add post. That means this add post is not even going to run. This add post is not even going to run until this get post runs first of all. The moment this get post is available, the moment this get post has run and the data right here, and this data has been assigned, that means by the time we are calling this function here is what I explained is actually running after this data is available. So now if we do something now, if we do this, let's do this. Let's put this and let's comment this out. No, we can't. You can't call a function before it's been assigned. Let's do this. Let's call this function right here, and let's remove it from this place.
Okay.
You can see we don't have anything on our screen.
Okay.
Reason being that
there's no data.
There's no data, and what is actually calling this our add post is actually this get function. We are calling a function inside another function.
That function.
So when get post ran already, the data is already available. So then we can now make use of this new post. We can now make use of this new array because at the time this ad post is going to run, what is going to be available? The data is already available. That means new array is already assigned to data already.
Okay.
So by the time we are calling it here, we are already calling the data that is inside new array. Do you understand?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Yeah, so when we now called new array, we now did a for each on it and gave it a variable name of Tifer and index. This index, I'm still going to work on that index. And we now rendered the data. This HTML that we have, this is an empty HTML variable we added. We can change it to something else. We can change it to goats. Let's change it to goats. Or we can't use Tifer again. Let's use, what should we use?
No, use something that is descriptive, that is talking about what we are doing, like display post also.
Let's do display post.
Something that is descriptive.
Display post. Yeah, thank you very much. I should use descriptive.
Change that Tifer to each post, so that even if I'm not here, I can know what you are talking about.
Okay.
Each post. Yes.
Each post. So we have display right here, display post right here, and we have our HTML. We still the same thing we are reassigning here, and we are rendering it down here. So let's check it out.
How did you do that?
What did I do?
You were trying to display post, and immediately you wrote it once, and the two things worked once.
I used command D. Just do command D. If you do command D on your system, everything is select the same occurrence of the post right there.
Control D.
Yeah.
Okay, Control D. Okay.
So that's just it. So if I try to change it now, you can see once I deleted it, everything goes. If I do display post, if I do this and I save it, everything still works the same way.
Okay.
So we have our post back on the screen again.
So you are not saying now that immediately the data becomes available up there. Anywhere I'm using it outside, it will work. If I write another function.
If you write another function, you have to call that function inside this get post. Yes, because it's at that point when that get post has run, that is when the data is available.
Okay, if I write another function, I will have to go and call it in where this get post function before it will access the data.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Or if you don't want to do that, you have to assign it inside this post, because you are still going to do that. You have to reassign it inside this post, because it's not going to be like a chain. It's not going to be that if once get post run, add post is going to run.
Yes.
And the other function they are calling inside add post is not going to run. So that it's not going to be a sequence. Okay, get post is going to run first, add post is going to run second, and the next function inside add post is actually going to run. That is what we have. You understand? You understand?
Sorry, my network was giving me issues.
So
where I got you.
I said that for each one of them, you have to simply do what? You have to call the function inside another function. Because if you create another function and you call the function outside and the data is not available, it's not going to work. The data has to be available. That means, where is the data going to be available? Why is the data? Where is the data? At the point where this get post runs.
Yes.
That is where it's going to be available.
Yes.
So that's just it. So Paul, I have to. Paul, all of you are going to work on this task. And if you don't understand it, how will you get it? So let's move on to the next. let's move on to the next part. And the next part is simply that
Sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, there is a way of syncing knowledge. Like everybody have different way of syncing, or let me say asynchronously knowing something. You get, so the question that she's asking, like Josephine is asking, you've taken a lot of time to explain it. You get, like you've taken a lot of time to explain it very well for her, but she's the only one getting what you are explaining. So, for the benefit of the class, this
Everybody
class
was
is
not
ending.
getting it. So you are saying, wait, Paul, you are saying that everything I explained, you didn't gain anything from it. Is that what you are saying? That everything
Sir, I gained something.
Wait,
Like
wait.
what you
You
explained.
made a statement. You made a statement that I am only explaining to her. That means every other person in the class did not gain anything from the whole analogy I did from beginning to the end.
I did not say that. I said myself. Like I did not get. Why would I say everybody?
Okay. So what's the issue, Paul? I'm listening, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
No, what I was saying is that the class, what you are explaining to her, like she might be getting it, but me, I did not get it at all. Like I did not get it. So that was like I was getting it from the beginning where
I actually did that. The thing is, you're not the only one on the call. Some other people has gained something from it. And if at the point of you working on your tasks, you can always go back to the YouTube video. That is why it's always available. You can always go back and try to understand what you want to do. Because what you're actually doing here is simply the same thing you're going to do in your e-commerce website. There is nothing I am changing. I am practically giving you the solution for the task on this call. So it's now for you to look at this code and see how it's going to fit into your e-commerce website, actually. That is just it. So now we have to do something. Let's move on. The next thing we have to do now is we want to select. We want to do what? We want to render each post. Okay, by the time you click a button, by the time you click one of the posts, you should be able to see it on another screen, the details of that screen. That is the next thing we want to go to now. So let's write another function right here. But before that, we have to. Before that, let me clean out all this console.log. Let me clean out all this console.log so we don't get confused. Sorry, whose hand is raised? I can't see the chat. I can't see that for now.
Sir, it's mine, sir. I just want to ask a quick question. Okay,
Genevieve, go ahead.
Genevieve.
Yeah. Genevieve, go ahead.
Okay, sir, please, I want to ask, when and then declare the function anywhere, because I normally have issues with functions.
Okay.
Like maybe can we call a function in the place that it's supposed to be called? Then, okay.
This is it. If you want to call a function, you can't. Now, let's do something now. Let's remove this. Genevieve, can you mute yourself? If I'm hearing myself again. So you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. You're going to have an error. This is it. You're actually calling the function. You're actually calling this function, but there's no data assigned to it. Simply because this function has to run. This function simply has to run when get function actually runs. That is it. So if you want to call your functions, if your function is tied to another, you can declare your function anywhere. You can call your function anywhere. But where you are now going to call your function is what happens. You can see now, I am calling get function. I'm defining get function right here on line 24, but I am calling it in line 14. Can you see? So where you are defining, when you are defining your function does not matter. When you are actually calling the function is what matters most.
Okay, now I get, sir. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So,
sorry, please. Can I just ask one quick question, please? Don't be offended.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was following you when you were explaining to Josephine. So I just want to confirm that I understand you clearly. Now, imagine if I decide to move add post and put it inside underneath new array and remove the add post calling. But when I put it underneath the new array, under the function, I decide to declare a function without a name.
Wait, come again.
Now, this is what's going to happen. I'm thinking of removing, you see, function add post. I remove it from below here and I put underneath new array equal assigned to data. And as I put that, I'll remove this add. No.
You do something like
you go. No. Go back to where was I? Okay, now you see this the calling add post. Where you're calling add post. I'll remove it.
Yeah.
Then I'll bring this function add post that is down. I want to lift it and put it underneath there. Then I'll remove the name of add post. I want to create a function without a name. So that when I call get post, it will just run straight without me calling. Hello?
Well, you can actually do that. I can hear you. You can actually do that, but it's not a good practice. This code is not readable. It's not about you just writing. If I do this, add post. If I do this, let me comment this out.
I was looking at creating a function without a name. So when I run get post, it should just run everything at once rather than calling it.
That's the same thing I did now. That the only function you can see that everything I'm running now is inside this get function. You can see I now run get add post on line 36. So I'm not creating an external function outside it, but this is not readable. I won't advise you to go through this route because if you go through this route,
well, I think what I was even looking at was maybe declaring a function without a name and having no need to call it. So immediately I just call get post. It just runs everything from top to bottom. Will it still work? Though you're saying it's a bad practice.
Yeah, it's going to. Yeah, it's still going to work. You're just going to do something like this. You're going to do const add post equals something like this, right? Is this what you're saying?
Well, I was looking at if I just write a function, then an empty bracket, then I now declare inside the function. Like
it won't work.
Control, it won't work.
It won't work. It's not going to work.
I think what he's trying to say is, though it's not what you are applying there. Like if you are clicking a button and you now go to an event list now work. You get what I'm saying? If there was an event listener added, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Well, that's an experiment you can wait. Okay,
no.
Wait. ID. I think you should try that experiment out, and let's see. I think you should try that experiment out, and let's see.
I'll give it a try. Don't worry. When I have,
just give it a try.
Thank you.
I'm trying to just remove this out. Oh, I can't control Z again. I can't control Z again. Okay. So this is what we have. We are back to what we have currently, which is this. So the next thing we want to do is we want to select a particular post and render it on another screen, which is why we have this post.html. So let's go ahead. Please, can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's do that. Let's now do function. What descriptive function name should I give it? View post. View post. Yeah, let's do this, and yeah. So before we can do that, we have to find a way of selecting one of the elements right here, because this is the div we are going to be selecting. So we have to put a class name here. I'm going to put a class name here, which is display post, view post, view post. So let's now come right here. Let's do equals let's view post equals document dot query selector all, because that post is actually going to affect each one of them. So let's do this. Query the selector all equals, what is the name of the post? View post. We have view post, right? View post. Then we go right here and we do view post. View post dot for each. Josephine, what you wanted to do previously is what we actually do right here again.
Okay, I'm with you.
Josephine, yeah. So we have this. Let's have dash index, and we have this, and yes, we have an event listener, because what is going to happen is that once the post is clicked, that is when we want that to move to the next screen. So how do we do that? We add an event listener. So we do e dot add event listener. What kind of event listener do you want to add? It's a click event, and we do this, and this.
Sir, please, can you scroll your screen? Can you see?
Okay.
I don't know how to.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do console.log index. So let's see what we have. Once we click on anyone, let's see what we have. So, another thing is we have not called the function yet. So we want this function to run after add post has actually run. So we will do view here. So we do this, and let's select one. Why are you looking? Why are you not looking? What's going on?
You need to add an on-click function.
No. Why is this not working? View post, all is click events, view post that's for each. That's the styling actually. That's styling.
Your query selector or view post, you not put dot at the front, dot view post.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's actually a sleep. I didn't notice I didn't put it. Thank you for that. So let's check it. So yeah, that's why we are not selecting LM event. So you can see what you are selecting is actually the post number. So index. So we have to do something. So I made mention of, yeah, you know that when you are using in your e-commerce website, I made mention of you using an add to cart function. And who has used Jumia website here before? Who has used Jumia website here before?
Me.
So you notice that sometimes you can add something to cart and leave the website and come back 3 months after, you still meet it there.
Yes, exactly.
So that is simply because it is using your browser storage. So for us to be able to do this, we are going to be making use of that browser storage. So let's do that. So what is the browser storage you are going to be making use of? It's called local storage. And local storage, can you see my web browser? Can you see my web browser?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you want to access your local storage, there are 3 different kinds of storage. There's cookie storage, there's local storage, and there's section storage. But for our own sake, what you are going to be making use of is when you are going into React and the likes, that's when we're making use of cookie storage and section storage. But the most use case is actually local storage. So be able to access a local storage, you write on your Google Developer tool where you have your console, you see something called application. So once you click on application, you'll be able to see it. You will see local storage. You will see storage, and you can see the 3 kinds of storage that we have right here. We have the local storage, we have the section storage, we have the index DB, we have the cookie storage, we have and all this. So the one we're actually looking at is local storage. Each web browser has its own different local storage. So let's come right here. Once you click on this, you see the information about this. So what do we want to do? We want to save the index number, because to be able to get a single blog post, what are we going to use? You can see that this is telling us the simple thing we need. We need to add the ID to it. We simply have to add the ID to it, which is this. So you can see, once you add the ID to it, it gives you this particular post. And this is the URL we are going to make use of. So let's continue. So now we have done this, and we now have to move this to, we have to do this. You have to do local storage dot set item, because local storage dot set item. To push an item to your local storage, that is what you do. You give it a variable name, which is going to be post. Let's give it to blog ID, and we give it index. That's the index plus 1. Why? Who can tell me why we are adding a plus 1 to it?
So that
it will be moving to the next object.
Okay, all right. So now that we have done that, we now want to automatically navigate. To what? To our browser, to next page, which is this. We now do this. There's a function called window dot location. That means you're going to a page on your browser. Window dot location dot href equals what is the HTML page you are going to? The HTML page you are going to is actually post.html. So the simple thing we are just going to do here is post.html. And yes, we are done right here. So let's select this. So let's go to our page, and once we select a particular one, we have to check. You can see our local storage here is still opened. So let's select one. You can see blog ID. Blog ID. Sample. Samuel, why did you unmute your mic? Samuel, why did you unmute your mic? Samuel, tell me why you unmuted your mic.
Sorry, I didn't even know it was the.
All right, no problem. So you can see that at this point, you can see that when we did local storage or set item block ID equals index plus 1. So what are we doing? The index, we selected the first one and it actually gave us that. So why are we, so we have to work on that. We are still going to work on that. So let's do this. Let's select the other one. You can see that it's 2. Simply because the array, you said that we want it to iterate. It's not that. The reason is because you know an array starts from 0. An array of objects start from 0. And if an array of objects start from 0, you have to add a plus 1 to it. Because it's that index we're actually going to be using in our post.js to actually get the details of that post. So that is what we are going to do next now. So let's go to our post.js. So let's go to our post.js. Rahim, your hand is raised.
Yeah. Hello, sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry, the block ID, is it a variable? Or where do we declare it? The block ID, is it a variable?
I just declared it as a variable right here. Local storage, if you are working with local storage takes in 2 parameters. One, the value, the key and the value. If you check our local storage now, you can see something here. You can see we have key and we have value. So by the time this block name, block ID is actually our key. So that is like assigning a variable to it in JavaScript. So the index plus 1 is your ID, the element at positions, at any position, just add a plus 1 to it. That is simply what it does. So this block ID is the variable name we are going to use to get the value back at the other place we need it. So just follow me and see what we are going to do. Just watch what we are going to do, and you have to understand. Rahim, let me implement the posts. Let me implement the post so that you can actually understand it, so that you would see why I'm using that blog post.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's go to the post.js. We're already running out of time. This is 12 o'clock actually, but I just have to complete it. So the next thing we have to do is you have to do a function also. Get post. Same way we are going to get a function, and we do this. And after we have done that, we now get our item from local storage. We now do let block ID equals local storage dot get item. What is the item we want to get? Block ID. So right here we have gotten our block ID. If we do console.log, let me continue because we are far spent. So let's do this. let's now do our fetch function. Fetch. So wait, if you want to get a single ID, you can see that this API is telling us that we need what? We need a blog post, the post and the index number, which is this. So which is going to automatically form our URL. So let's try that out. We do a fetch. And how do we get that? Let's go to our script here and copy our fetch function, which is almost the same thing. We do this. Let's copy this. Control C. And we paste this right here. And we do slash. What we are actually going to be targeting is what? We can't use a quote. We can actually use a backtick because we're actually selecting we're actually going to add something dynamically to it. And what are we adding? Blog posts, blog ID. And that is the ID we are going to get to it. So the next thing we have to do is we have to do a dot then our response and response.json. This we are also familiar with this, and the next thing we have to do is to do a dot then, and we have our data equals this, because we are going to be using a curly braces data, and we do this, and we have a curly braces, and the next thing we have to do is let's console.log data. Let's console.log data to see what we have. So let's check it out. So let's go to this place and let's go back to our blog page, and our details have arrived, and we do this, and let's go to our console. Oh, another thing, we have not called the function yet. We have not called the get post function. That is why we are not seeing what we have right here. So what do we have to do? We have to call our get post function right here. Get post, and call the function. So let's check it out. So you can actually see, are we all following? Hello?
We are following.
Yes.
All right. So the thing there is now that if we select any blog posts, here, we just do this, and you can see we are calling the blog post from the API. If we check our network tab, there's something this is it. You can actually see, if we do our console, you can actually see is the details from this blog post too we're actually getting. So what is the next thing we have to do? We have to render it on the screen. So now let's render it on the screen. So let's do this. What is the next thing we are going to do? You can tell me the next thing we are going to do. Someone put me through the next thing we are going to do. Someone should put me through the next thing we are going to do. So the next thing we are going to do is
display it.
The next thing we are going to do is, you can see right here in our HTML, in our post.html, we have an ID of post body. We have an ID of post body. It's inside this div of post body we are going to assign our element to. And that is how we are going to do it. And so let's figure that out. What is the next thing we are going to do? We have to have a div. We have to have a card. Let's do a card. I know the bootstrap element off my head, so I'm just going to be writing that. So we have a div. Sorry, we can't do this like this. You have to do let HTML. Let's block details equals an empty array, an empty string. So what is the next thing we have to do is we have to select the post body. So we are doing let post body equals document.get element by ID. And what do we have? We have post body. We have post body. So this is what we have. And after that, we go to the next. We now do post body the same way we did it previously. Post body equals the backtick, and yeah, we now have a div and this. So we have this, and we do a class and remove this. Are we all following? Please, I should not just be talking to myself, please. Card.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And we want to give it a background color. Let's go to Bootstrap and check the background color. Please, I want to end this class by 12:30. We have spent Bootstrap. So the next thing, let's check a background color. So let's do a background color of blue, a background color of primary. So I just copy this and I do this right here. So it has its own distinct background color. So the next thing I have to do is I have to do a card. No, I have to do another div. No, Control Z. Can see that it's not actually easy writing HTML in JavaScript. You have a div because you have to write everything yourself. But if you are doing it with HTML, it's going to automatically complete. Class equals this. And what is the next thing?
Can't you copy it from your HTML?
I don't have an HTML for that. I didn't write the template code for it. I didn't write the template code for it. That's why. If I had the template code, I'll have just copied it. So I'm sorry I didn't have that. So I actually want you guys to see how I'm going to do it. That is why I'm actually doing this. So the next thing we have to do is, what do we want to render? The next thing we want to render is the details H1, which is the title. H1, no, sorry, H1 slash H1. So we have a class name. We just have there's no class. We are not assigning anything to that. That's going to do. What do we have? What do we have? Can someone tell me what we have?
Get post.
Huh? How is it get post? Where are we getting data
Oh,
from?
sorry, post body.
This is data. This will be data dot title. This will be data dot title because when we console.log data, the data we are getting is actually there already. So the next thing we have to do is we have to do a p tag, which is going to be the body, and we do this. We do slash data dot body data dot body.
Sir, I think Paul has question.
Paul, where is this question? Is his hand raised? Oh, sorry, Paul. I didn't know your hand was raised. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the question I want to ask is that, this post, this blog post, this one here is the sub post from the main body of the entire index.html, right?
Yes. It's
So
a single post out of the whole post we have.
Okay, what you are trying to do now is that when you get to the script.js, you actually went to the blog post. Then you are not trying to go back to the main post, clicking on that link that was there, right?
No, this is it. This is what I did. What I simply did was, now that we have gotten if it is not, sorry, my nose is kind of okay. Yeah. So what I simply did here was that when we have got the post already, when we have got the post, which is what we have in this add post, you can see we have a class name of view post here. Okay.
Yes, sir, I can.
So you can see we have a class of view post here. Is that view post that we are now clicking right here on line 47? This is just us clicking to that page. And how do we do that? I had a function of view posts. Let view post equal add document or query selector. Add query selector all. And this view post, you know that for every class, for every item that is going, let me check, let me open this up and show you. Let me open this up and show you. Let's go back to this page. So you can see now, let's check our elements one after the other. So where is it? So this is create blog post now. We have display post section, which is this blog post. So you can see that each of the posts, Paul, you can see that
Yes.
each of the posts has these view posts.
Yes.
Can you see my console?
Yes, sir.
You can see each one of them has this view post. And what do I want to do? I want to select one. I want to select a particular one. And what did I do? If you can remember in the last class we did, when we were having that model, if we don't do this query selector all, what is it going to do? It's just going to select just one out of it, and the others are not going to be selectable. So what we simply did right here was just do a query selector all. That means it selects all your view posts that is in. There are 100 view posts right there. There are 100 class name of view posts inside our elements on the HTML screen. What is the next thing we have to do? We now did a view post dot for each, and when we now do that, we now add an event listener to each one of them. So that is for each one of them. Add an event listener to them. So when I click one of them, it does what? It automatically triggers this function. When I click, two things is going to happen. It's going to set local storage save. It's going to save this, the index of the blog post. It's going to save it inside the blog ID. It's going to save it in the local storage, and also navigate to this page. And once it navigates to this page, I want to do something on this page. On this page, I want to make another API call. And the API call is simply that, okay, that index that I saved in the local storage, what is the next thing I want to do? I want to do blog ID equals get local storage or get item equals blog post. And I simply did what here? I called it right here, and I'm making an API call to this place. And I did what? And I rendered audio details here. So the next thing I'm now going to do right here is just that I'm going to push the same way we have index.html, inner HTML. It's the same thing I'm going to do. What's the next thing I'm going to do? Someone should tell me what's the next thing I want to do if you are following.
You give it a class, you give it a name, then you do the index of
I'm going to do a post body. You can see. I'm going to do this post body right here. Oh wait, am I not missing something out? Can someone not see that I'm missing something out?
Okay, you've not rendered an empty. Okay, you've done that already.
This is actually what I'm missing. I'm not actually supposed to do that. It's actually the blog ID. I'm supposed to do that too. So because it's the blog ID that's going to be rendered. So we do this, and we do inner HTML dot inner HTML equals so let's check what we have right now. So you can see this is the simple details we have. When we click on that page, it simply did what? It made an API call behind the scene for us and got this data. And when we got this data, we rendered it on the screen. And that is simply what you are going to do for when I said view the details page of a particular product. When you check a particular product and you click on that product, when you go to the next page, it's simply going to give you the details of that page, of that product, and that is what we want to do. So, do you understand it? Do you understand this process?
Yes, I understand now.
Yes, sir.
All right. So,
but
guys,
sir, are you going to push this thing, this stuff to your thing and update?
Now before I forget, because I'm kind of a bit under the weather, so let me just push it right now. So I don't want to use this. So let's just go.
And the previous one, sir.
All right, I'm going to push that. First of all, let me push this. Let me go to my GitHub. Let me go to my GitHub, please. And yeah.
So I hope this class will be available on YouTube today, sir.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to inform the person uploading. I'm not the one uploading it. So
right, sir, they should help us, sir.
Yeah. So let me if you are still having issues with GitHub, so this is how you do it. So I'm going to do a git init. Let me run my terminal, which is this. Please, if you have a question in the chat box, I can't see that for now because my chat box is not opened. So let's do git add dot git add dot, and we have added everything. We do a git commit -m log post, and yes, what's the next thing we have to do is we have to just do this.
Sir, yes, sir. I have a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, ask a question.
So now, sir, in our own e-commerce app, sir, I think it's once we click, it should be viewing with the picture, sir. How are we going to do that?
You render
or
this,
we'll get everything from the API.
You get everything from the API. I actually used a picture in the last class. In the last class where I was getting the countries API, where we got for countries. Yes, I was using an image. So the image comes with the API actually.
So that means in our UI we don't need to set any picture or anything like that.
You just have to create the structure where the picture is just going to stay. Go and watch the previous class and see how I did that.
All right, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So yeah, I've actually pushed it to GitHub, so it's available on GitHub already. You guys can go there and clone the code. You can clone it. It is available right there. So you can clone the code and make use of it. So
I have a
very
question.
much for
I'm trying to...
You have a wonderful day.
Okay.